Just when you thought things couldn't get crazier for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Omar Khan says, "Hold my beer." The Pittsburgh Steelers aren't done making moves at quarterback after a crazy day yesterday that featured the introduction of Russell Wilson and the subsequent trading of Kenny Pickett to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Pittsburgh Steelers weren't done making moves at quarterback as just a few minutes ago, tweeted out by Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport. The Pittsburgh Steelers are trading for quarterback Justin Fields from the Chicago Bears. They are sending a 2025 sixth-round pick that has the potential to become a fourth-round pick, depending on playing time. They didn't give up a pick in this year's draft for him. I'm so blown away by the night and day difference between what the Steelers had with Kevin Colbert, the former general manager, and Omar Khan, the current general manager. The sense of urgency to get things done and to make real changes. They continue to shine through with this new regime. Justin Fields is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. Again, Steelers sending a 2025 sixth-round pick that has the potential to become a fourth-round pick depending on playing time. And I don't even know what to think right now. I think that the Steelers signed Russell Wilson with the full intent that he's going to be the one. I don't think that changes. Mike Tomlin loved Justin Fields coming out of Ohio State. The Steelers needed another quarterback on the roster. But not just another quarterback that they could feel comfortable putting in should the Russell Wilson experiment not work. Justin Fields has been a starter for 3 years now. And he's got a ton of experience under his belt, so Pittsburgh can feel comfortable with him as the number two. And let's say, by like week 6, the offense is struggling still, things aren't going well, and there's, they're sitting at like 2-3. Hey, Justin Fields is sitting right there, a guy who's started for the past 3 years. You can hand him the keys and be like, all right, man, look, this is why we traded for you. Show us something. The big question right now as well is, are the Steelers going to pick up the fifth-year option? I don't know when the deadline to do so is. I would say they won't do it immediately, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do end up picking that up. We also have to worry about picking up the option of Najee Harris as well. So that's something to keep in mind. But the fact that they acquired him for basically nothing. It's a 2025 sixth-round pick. And depending on if he plays, how much he plays, it could become a fourth next year. They didn't give up a draft pick this year for him. People were talking all over the beat. My boy Derek Bell, Noah Strackbean, talking about, hey, maybe they turn that fourth-round pick, the pick that they just got for Pickett, and flip that into Justin Fields. They didn't even have to give that up. They gave up far less for Justin Fields. So I'll turn to a few comments here. Hoorah, dude, what a day. What a stretch of days to be a Steelers fan. Steel City Reaper, Omar just turned KP into Wilson and Fields for a pick swap and a sixth-rounder. Not even a sixth-rounder in this draft, man. A sixth-rounder next year. So he is absolutely cooking. And it's incredible what they have now turned this quarterback room into, from what it was a year ago to what it is now, where, going into last year, it was Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. And we saw what that turned into on the field. It was arguably the worst quarterback room in the NFL. Now, obviously, Mason came in at the end and saved their season and helped guide them to the playoffs. But what we saw from Pickett and Trubisky was the worst combination of quarterback play in the NFL. We can talk about, New England wasn't good with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. We can factor in the Jets as well with, the combination of Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle. But I would throw Pickett and Trubisky's play into the mix of the worst quarterback play in the NFL last year. And now the Steelers have flipped that into Russell Wilson, who is marginally better than anything that they had last year. I talked about it on the stream yesterday. I think that Russ's best days are obviously behind him. But last year there was clear improvements from 2022 where he was somewhere, between like, okay, on his best days, he might be, the 17th or 16th best quarterback in football. If he can maintain being the 16th to 20th best quarterback in football next year, then they'll be in a much better spot. But we also talked about, okay, what are they going to do? And I said to lead off the stream yesterday, I wonder if they try to make a move for Justin Fields now. And lo and behold, Omar Khan not done making moves. And Cam Hayward actually just tweeted, Omar be like, and it's the scene from Scary Movie 1 where Ray is like, but wait, there's more. And that's basically what he's done, man. And I already said it, the sense of urgency to continue to make moves, to continue to get better from Omar Khan, night and day from what it was with Kevin Colbert. These moves will not be getting made if Kevin Colbert was still the general manager. And Arthur Moats talked about it on his YouTube. I want to say it was today. How like the Steelers were basically non-existent in free agency. They didn't do trades with Kevin Colbert. They were strictly, all right, we're going to draft and that's how we're going to build. And he said, it would have been nice if, when he was on the team, if they would have been a little bit more aggressive to bring in certain players. And now we're seeing that Omar Khan, this is a new day. This is a new regime. This is a new way of thinking, a new way of team building with Omar Khan and this new era of the Steelers. I'm still just blown away by how little they've had. They turned Kenny Pickett somehow into a better draft position, 22 picks higher than what they had, and 2 additional draft picks. And they acquired Justin Fields, who at the beginning of this process, Adam Schefter went on McAfee and said, he might go for a second-round pick, to trading for him for a 2025 sixth-round pick. Incredible work by Omar Khan. And they're not done, man. They aren't done. This also, I think, takes away a lot of urgency to draft a quarterback. I don't think that you necessarily need to. I still think that they will. But, coming into today, everybody's like, they might take, one in like the 3rd round, 4th round. And look, if they still want to take, Spencer Rattler, if they really like him, okay. But if you got these 3rd round and 4th round picks where you can address other positions of need, then maybe that's what you do. I think that the best case scenario is, they end up picking up Fields' option. I mean, I guess the best case scenario is Russ just balls out and they bring him back next year. I guess that's the best case scenario because then they don't have to make a quarterback switch and that means that everything went well. But another, good case scenario is, say Russ struggles, Justin Fields comes in, plays well. They feel confident enough in what they see to pick up his 5th-year option, and that's your quarterback for 2025. But I'm incredibly excited to go from last year in camp being down in Latrobe watching Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph to now being able to watch Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and whomever that 3rd quarterback's going to be. Just get me to July at this point, man. Get me to camp. Get me to OT. Let me see these guys work. That is what I want more than anything right now is just get me to camp. Get me there. Still 4 months away. So we still got a little bit of time, quite a bit of time. The offseason just really started. So it's going to be a while. But my goodness, man, what a stretch of days it's been since the new league year started, and just how much the Steelers have really put into free agency and being aggressive with trades. Signing Patrick Queen, signing Russell Wilson, signing Deshaun Elliott, trading away Kenny Pickett, trading away Deontay Johnson, and now acquiring Justin Fields from the Chicago Bears for a 2025 6th-round pick that has the potential to become a 4th-round pick in 2025, depending on how much he plays. It's so much credit needs to go to Omar Khan. I know a lot of things last year that went poorly were because of the lack of cohesion in the locker room. I feel like there was definitely a lot of just bad vibes, and they got rid of all the bad vibes. The defensive leaders very clearly didn't believe in Kenny Pickett and didn't want him back, which is why Cam Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, Pat Freiermuth as well, Connor Hayward, a bunch of guys were like, look, Russ, come to Pittsburgh. We want you to come to Pittsburgh. And when you have that combined with the fact that Kenny Pickett refused to suit up against Seattle, he was upset about Russell Wilson coming, so they sent him away. Deontay Johnson was reportedly a headache behind the scenes and in the locker room and everything. They sent him away. I think that this has just been a combination of getting rid of all the bad vibes in the locker room and bringing in a whole new, fresh regime of talent that they believe can be better than what they had. Then there's still holes to fill. They still need to get more receivers. They signed Van Jefferson. I think he's just more or less going to be a depth guy, probably the third or fourth receiver who, can potentially be a special teams guy. He was with Arthur Smith last year in Atlanta. I don't think they can't stop that receiver there. Whether it be, signing Tyler Boyd and drafting some guys, they now have a little bit more. They can be a little bit more flexible with what they do now because they have a backup quarterback and they don't have to necessarily worry about that so much in the draft. That's what I'm saying. Everybody was penciling in a quarterback in the third round or fourth round, but now, you can be a team that takes two receivers on day two. You can be a team that tries to upgrade at tackle, center, and maybe get a cornerback as well. Like, it opens up what they can do so much more now because they have a lot of picks within the first time. I think they have 4 top 100 picks and 5 within the first 130 or 150. But they have a lot of draft capital on the first 2 days. And they don't have any draft picks after the 6th round. So right now, I feel good. This is as good as I felt as a Steelers fan in 2 years, where it was just the same old stuff, the quote-unquote Steeler way. Omar Khan showing right now, hey, the Steeler way, that Steeler way is dead. This is the new Steeler way. This is getting with the times. This is being progressive. This is going out and getting players that they think can make them better. And it's just nice to feel like this team is getting with the times. Do I think this is a Super Bowl roster right now? No. Do I think it's a roster that is going to be better than where they were last year and have a chance to win a playoff game? Yes. Depending on what their matchup will be. And again, look, we haven't seen these guys on the field yet. It's still very early in the offseason. I still got to fill holes at cornerback. They still got to get some more defensive line depth. Still got to get more receivers. Got to figure out tackle and center. Like, they still have, but those things still need figured out. But as of where they stand right now, they're better at quarterback. Still got all your defensive stars. Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt. You just get Patrick Queen. You add him into the mix. Your offensive coordinator cannot be worse than what he was the past few seasons. And I think Arthur Smith is actually going to be a pretty solid offensive coordinator. I'm very much looking forward to what 2024 has in store for Pittsburgh. And now they have 2 competent quarterbacks where Russell Wilson is going to be the starter. And they feel confident about that. But if something does go awry, or even if Russ gets hurt, let's say he, knock on wood, we don't want that to happen, obviously. But if Russ goes down for like a month or longer, you feel confident in Justin Fields. You feel confident in having him there, where you can turn around and say, hey, there's not much drop off from Russell Wilson to Justin Fields. We feel good. And look, Justin Fields now has an opportunity to go work with an incredibly stable head coach, an organization that is weeding out all the bad vibes. And I think it's going to be good for him. And best case scenario for him is he ends up playing some for whatever the circumstances may be, and he gets his 5th-year option picked up by the Steelers, and he's the starter in 2025. Where that would leave Russell Wilson, I don't know. But I'll say this. I think that one of Russell Wilson or Justin Fields will be the starter next in 2025. So I think that's a little bit in their mind right now is, hey, if something does go awry with Russ, we at least have a backup plan. We can see what Justin brings. And if he plays well, we'll pick up that 5th-year option. He'll be our starter in 2025. Richard says, hopefully we draft a quarterback. I don't know, man. Like, I think that they're still gonna, but I think that the urgency to do so goes down a little bit for all the reasons I already pointed out. Just because if Russ plays well, probably not going to see too much of Justin. And if they feel confident with him going forward because he plays well, then Russ is going to be your starter in 2025 anyway. And if Russ doesn't play well, but Justin Fields comes in and plays well, then they can feel confident, pick up that fifth-year option. He's the starter in 2025. So I think they are going to draft one probably in like either the 4th round or the 6th round. But I feel like the urgency to draft one goes down a little bit right now. I could be wrong. They could really like a guy, whether that be Pratt or Spencer Rattler. And if he's there in the 3rd or 4th round, they want to take him, then cool, that's fine. At least then you have a definite quarterback on the roster next year. But if I had to, call my shot right now, I'd say that one of Russell Wilson or Justin Fields are going to be the starter in 2025. And I think that obviously that's what the Steelers hope. They hope that one of these guys works out. I already pointed out the best case scenario is Russ looks good and they can feel confident in giving him, another year or a 2-year deal. Or another good case scenario is, okay, Russ doesn't look great, but they put in Justin Fields and he does look good. And then they can pick up that option and give him an extension if they feel comfortable enough to do that. But regardless, man, the vibes are high right now. But yeah, they need to they need to add a left tackle. They need to sign a center. Need a little bit more depth on defensive line. Need some more corners. But man, the urgency over the past week. Okay, we're going to not even just the past like month. All right, you know what? We're going to trim this fat. We're going to cut Mitch Trubisky. We're going to cut Presley Harvin. We're going to cut Chuks Okorafor. We're going to cut Patrick Peterson. And they might bring Patrick Peterson back on a much cheaper deal. And we're also, Kenny Pickett, you don't like this. We don't like the way that you've acted. We're going to send you to Philadelphia. Deontay Johnson, you've been a headache behind the scenes. We're sending you to Carolina. We are getting all the bad vibes out of here. And we are trimming the fat off this steak. And that's so different from what it would have been under Kevin Colbert, where they would have just planted their feet in the quicksand, hoped to somehow get out of it. And really, I think a lot of the issues that have come with the Steelers on the field is that they weren't willing to move on from guys when it was very evident that they should. And a lot of that falls on Kevin Colbert. And I've been as critical as Mike Tomlin as anybody, but seeing how progressive Omar Khan has been, I think we can kind of have some hindsight now and be like, oh man, you know what? Mike Tomlin probably got a little bit of a bad rap from some fans, myself included. Because if he's stuck with all these bad players that Kevin Colbert refused to get rid of because of some sort of stupid ass Steeler way, then that's more. Now look, Mike Tomlin's not perfect. He kept Matt Canada around. I get that. I'm not trying to rid Tomlin of any fault here. He's still there's still a 7-year playoff win drought. I get that, but I think with hindsight now we can say, okay, if I'm somebody who ragged on Mike Tomlin a little bit, I can say now, okay, a lot of this was also on Kevin Colbert. Maybe take a little bit of the blame off of Tomlin's shoulders. But it feels good to be a Steelers fan, man. It feels very good. For the first time in a long time, it feels good. And, going into previous off seasons, you see these big names and you immediately as a Steelers fan, you're like, yeah, they're not going to go get them because that's not what they do. Right now, it feels like anything's on the table. They traded Kenny Pickett. Nobody thought they would do that. Absolutely no one thought that they would do that, at least not before the season started. If Russell Wilson would have won the quarterback competition and, the trade deadline's rolling around and they get offers, then sure. But in March, the second day of the league year, nobody thought that was going to happen, man. Absolutely no one. And then to follow it up by trading for Justin Fields, man, I'm so excited for what the season and what the rest of the offseason has in store. Because they can still move some money around, bring in some guys, and start building for the future. I'm very excited for the draft. Omar knocked the draft out of the park last year. Yes, there were some struggles on the field, but you look at what Joey Porter Jr. did, what Broderick Jones became when he started at right tackle. Darnell Washington was constantly on the field, utilized as a block. He's going to be utilized more as a pass catcher under Arthur Smith. I can promise you that. We saw a ton of guys get a lot of production as rookies. And we didn't see that with Kevin Colbert for a long time. He had a lot of bad drafts. from Kevin Colbert. A lot of, Devin Bushes and Kendrick Greens and, just not good selections that have led to, a lot of scrutiny. And Omar Khan has since come in and made an actual difference. And it's nice to see that. It's nice to see somebody come in with a sense of urgency and wanting to make changes. And now Justin Fields is a Pittsburgh Steeler. Again, they trade Justin Fields to the the Bears trade Justin Fields from the Chicago Bears to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 2025 6th-round pick. Has the potential to become a 4th-round pick, depending on playing time. What? Oh, my goodness. It's been a chaotic week for the Steelers, and keeps getting crazier. And the fact that they turned Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, flipped that quarterback room into Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Incredible. And they can now feel confident in at least, I think, both quarterbacks. Because say what you want about Russ, he wasn't very great last year. He was fine. He was a top 32 quarterback, which is more than we can say about everybody minus Mason Rudolph that we saw last year. Pickett stunk. Trubisky stunk. I think that was the thing with the fact that Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Pat Freiermuth, all these guys was look, if we just get okay quarterback play, we'll be good. We'll be fine. Which is why they recruited him. Which is why they wanted him here. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys right now who are happy that Justin Fields is coming because they know that they have 2 guys that they know that at least one of them will rise to the occasion and play well. And I don't know what this necessarily means for Justin Fields going forward because he's in the last year of his rookie contract and the 5th-year option question is going to be asked. But I'm excited to see what he does in OTAs, in training camp, in preseason. And if his number does at some point get called during the regular season, I'm excited to watch him play. But this is awesome. Absolutely awesome for Steelers fans. Knowing that this isn't the team of yesteryear, where if you see a player that's a free agent or available via trade, the thought in your head isn't immediately, well, the Steelers aren't going to go get him. Now it's, hey, let's see what the con artist does. Let's see if he goes and makes a move. And so far, he hasn't disappointed. The past 2 years, Omar Khan has been incredibly aggressive, and that is what I like to see. And we'll see what becomes of this new quarterback room of Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and whomever that 3rd quarterback will be. Whether it be a guy that they draft, which I think is the most likely option, or whether it be, a veteran that's still out there. It could be somebody like a Josh Dobbs that they bring in, somebody of that caliber. I think a dark horse, hear me out, they might not be done trading for quarterbacks. Maybe they trade for Trey Lance from the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. But I think that would make more sense than drafting a guy. Because you could get Trey Lance for nothing. They just got 2 7th-round picks for Kenny Pickett. Trade those 2 7s to get Trey Lance. 7th-round picks aren't nothing. If you could flip Kenny Pickett for Trey Lance, you do it. Because that's a guy, again, same, somewhat style as Justin Fields in terms of a mobile guy. I think that would make more sense than drafting a guy. Unless, of course, I think they're from the same draft. I might just contradict myself there. Because if they went in the same draft class, so I guess they'd have to worry about his 5th-year option too. And I see some people saying it. Either way, this is a good time to be a Steelers fan. Very good time. Because look at the remaining free agents. Look at guys that could be available via trade. All of them are on the table. They weren't before, and they are now. And again, if Russ does play well and he lasts the entire season and the Steelers are, a playoff team because of it, then awesome. Then Justin Fields, gets just kind of a rehab year, becomes a free agent. Maybe Pittsburgh brings him back. Who knows? just because the Steelers wouldn't pick up his fifth-year option doesn't mean that they couldn't bring him back. And I think that that's something that people need to also remember is that they don't necessarily have to pick up his fifth-year option. If anything, I think that they would let it expire and bring him back for a cheaper deal, which would make sense. So even if they don't pick up that fifth-year option, Justin Fields could absolutely find his way still in Pittsburgh in 2025, just on a much cheaper deal. And if he plays well, if there's a situation where he comes in, whether it be Russ gets hurt or Russ isn't playing well, so they turn to Justin Fields and he plays well, and they want to pick up the fifth-year option, then cool. Or there can be, some sort of spoken agreement like, hey, we want to bring you back, just not quite for that much. We'll still make sure you get paid, but we'd like it to be, for a little bit less money or, close to the amount, but in a way that we can structure a new deal where we can, give it to you a lot of it as like a signing bonus. That way it's not as big of a cap hit, something of that manner where he can still be in Pittsburgh in 2025 without them picking up the option. I think that's absolutely on the table. Absolutely. But there's so many things that could happen, so many things that are still going to happen because, again, Pittsburgh still needs a center. They still need a left tackle or a right tackle. They can move Broderick Jones to left. Omar Khan talked about it at the combine where he said, hey, we drafted Broderick to be a left tackle. He's going to be a left tackle. It's just a matter of when they decide to do that. But nothing is off the table. And that is the nice thing of being a Steelers fan right now, is that nothing's off the table. When before, in years prior, you knew that certain moves weren't going to be made. And this time of year was pretty boring because Kevin Colbert wasn't going to do anything. Omar Khan is making moves. And it's very exciting. It's very exciting. Yeah. Now we just got to wait, hopefully for, a nice move at receiver. They'll probably they're going to draft at least one. I think that they'll draft two. And maybe another move at cornerback. A lot of things that could happen. And I'm excited to see where it goes. But if nobody else has any comments or questions or anything, or if you do have comments, you can drop it before I get out of here. If you're watching this on YouTube and you like, the content that I bring, if you could like it, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, that would be very cool as well. Steelers free. Colbert was a sea bass. Khan is a shark. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Omar Khan is always hungry to make this team better. Kevin Colbert was more than happy to just sit back. He was more than happy being not good enough. He was more than happy being good enough to not be good enough. And that was the problem with the Steelers for a long time. And to an extent, it still kind of is because they haven't won a playoff game in so long. But at least right now they're showing some urgency to get better and that they want to win. And going into the offseason, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, we're both preaching, hey, we want to win and we're willing to make moves that back that up. And a lot of people, myself included, were like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm seeing it and I believe it. So this is the most excited I've been as a Steelers fan in 2 years, in a very long time, since before they drafted Pickett. Ever since then, I've been a miserable human being. But things are looking up. And look, does this mean all of a sudden I think they're going to win a Super Bowl this year? No. But I also said it yesterday. We look at the elite quarterbacks in the AFC. Josh Allen hasn't been able to get over that hump yet. The Buffalo Bills haven't been able to get over that hump yet. Jacksonville hasn't necessarily been able to get over that hump yet with Trevor Lawrence. We'll see with the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. Burrow and the Bengals. They got past Kansas City once. They almost did it twice, and I think that they're still an incredible threat. But the point that I was making is like the Steelers see all these other teams with all these tremendous quarterbacks in conference and say, look, we don't have one of those right now, so we're just going to build a defense that's going to beat the piss out of you and get a competent quarterback in Russell Wilson and see where it takes us. I mean, they were 10-7 last year with a third-place schedule with horrible quarterback play. They're playing a third-place schedule again this year. One would think they can at least get back to 10 wins and be in the mix for a wild card spot with better quarterback play and a roster that looks like it could be better. A defense that looks like it's going to be better. I mean, you bring in Patrick Queen in the middle of the field. That gives that takes the load off Minkah Fitzpatrick, not having to worry about that part of the field. That's why they brought in Deshaun Elliott to help if they need to load the box against the run, they could do that with Deshaun Elliott. They want Minka Fitzpatrick to get back to doing what he does best, and that's patrolling center field. So the defense is going to be better. Offensively, they can't get worse. They can't get worse than what it has been. They have a better quarterback. They have a better offensive coordinator. I think they're going to utilize certain guys better, like a Darnell Washington, like a Pat Freiermuth. We're going to see more of Jalen Warren. We're going to see more of Jalen Warren and Najee Harris on the field at the same time, especially on early downs. The Falcons, I think, led the NFL last year in 22 personnel. It's 2 running backs, 2 tight ends on the field at the same time on first down. The Steelers didn't do that once. That was a 0% the Steelers did that last year. So we're going to see a lot of new looks this year. We're going to see a lot of different things from Arthur Smith that is going to be a lot less vanilla than what we saw from Matt Canada, the same stuff that wasn't working. We're going to see a lot more of, intricate flavors of offense that we hadn't seen with Matt Canada. So I'm extremely optimistic that the Steelers can be a team that is in the wild card hunt. And best case scenario, maybe they surprise some people and maybe win the division. I don't necessarily think that'll happen because I think Cincinnati's still the best team in the division and they're getting better too. But could the Steelers win 10 games? Perhaps 11, I think. It'd be a wild card team. Again, this is just based off of, Occam's razor. They had a third place schedule. They played a third place schedule last year. They won 10 games with the worst quarterback play in football. They got an obvious upgrade at quarterback play coming in. Obvious upgrade at offensive coordinator. Their defense got better. One would think they could still be a 10-win team when they've gotten better at so many different spots. So, and still playing a third place schedule. So I'm optimistic. Again, doesn't necessarily mean I think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but could they win a playoff game? Yes. Could they end the playoff drought? Yes. And that's a hell of a lot more than I would have said if Pickett was the starter. Which again is another reason why I'm so happy he's gone. Steelers free chime back in. Bingo. Wilson addresses the immediate need for a playoff win. Yeah, I think so. I think that you need a certain level of talent at quarterback to win a Super Bowl and get to the AFC Championship game and make a deep run in the AFC. It'd be different if the Steelers were in the NFC because the AFC is the conference of quarterbacks right now. The NFC is the conference of deeper rosters, if that makes sense. We're seeing, guys like Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, guys of that caliber who get to NFC Championship games with really good rosters built around them. In the AFC, it's, hey, we got Josh Allen and we're going to ride him until the wheels fall off. It's, hey, we don't have any receivers that can catch, but we got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. We're going to ride that. And they did again. So, two different, it's really crazy how both conferences are so different in terms of how they go about winning because all these great quarterbacks keep going to the AFC. And so the NFC is like, all right, we'll just gear up and just build great rosters. So it's an exciting time, man. Like I said, this is the most excited I've been as a fan since before they drafted Pickett. Last 2 years have been really rough. But now look, could the Russell Wilson thing not work? Sure, but that's why you trade for a Justin Fields, to have that insurance. And again, even if they don't pick up the option, if the Russell Wilson thing works and they bring him back, they can also bring Justin Fields back on a cheaper deal. So I'm very excited. 7 years of no playoff wins is a new ugly team record since the 67 Super Bowl era started. Yeah, it hasn't been good, and they're also the first team in NFL history to give up 30-plus points in 5 consecutive playoff games. So it's been a dark time, and it's something that I've preached, and other people have too, but just speaking for myself right now, especially this past season when the Steelers were barely beating teams like the Titans. And, I do, my post-game write-ups on it, be like, look, guys, this isn't sustainable. This isn't good. All these people just rolling in, oh, a win's a win. They keep winning. And my point was always, oh, okay, that's cute. You can do that against bad teams. You can grind out ugly-ass wins against the Titans in November. Guess what happens when you have to go to Buffalo and play Josh Allen? You can't win like that. Guess what happens when you have to go play the Houston Texans? You're going to get your asses kicked trying to win like that. What happens when you try to play the San Francisco 49ers in week 1? You get the hell beat out of you. They can beat bad teams doing that. They can't beat great teams doing that. They can't do it. And that's been their issue, is that it was the same issue in 2022. They were, 2-6 at one point that season. They grinded out a bunch of ugly wins against bad teams, got to 9-8, and convinced themselves that they could win with Pickett. And the same thing happened last year. So it's it's been a very, very annoying 2 years, a very difficult 2 years as a fan that knew that this thing wasn't going to work. And I'm happy to see them acknowledge their mistakes and be like, okay, Kenny Pickett can't play. We need to go get somebody who can, and we need to make some changes. And making a bad draft pick is bad, but what's worse is digging your feet in deep and sticking with them to try to prove yourself right and hope that they get better. Steelers ripped off the Band-Aid and said, all right, this isn't going to work. We're going to trade Kenny Pickett and we're going to start again. That's so refreshing on so many different levels. Jayhawk Loyalty, good to see you. So refreshing on so many different levels, man. Tomlin must produce as well. I agree. And I said it a little bit earlier. There is some hindsight that comes with this. And this isn't, I'm a guy who said that the Steelers should move on from Tomlin after the loss to New England last year, where they lost 2 consecutive games to 2-win teams. And I said, this thing is done. You got to admit when it's run its course. And look, maybe it still has, but with some hindsight right now, seeing what Omar Khan has done over the past week, he's made more moves in 3 days than Kevin Colbert did in his final 7 years. Kevin Colbert made the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade. That's the only notable thing that raised the eyebrows of Steelers fans. Oh my God, they actually did that. Kevin Colbert didn't do Mike Tomlin any favors. And I'm sure that Tomlin had some say in certain things, but you look at Omar Khan's first draft and how much production they already got out of Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr., and compare that to the last 4 Kevin Colbert drafts. There's an obvious discrepancy there. So there is some hindsight that Tomlin was definitely handicapped by Kevin Colbert, who was a really bad GM. And the fact that he was a bad GM got masked by the fact that Tomlin's a good coach and they had Ben Roethlisberger. A great head coach and a great quarterback can mask a lot of things. And it masked that Kevin Colbert was a bad general manager. So Omar Khan coming in and cleaning up the mess that Kevin Colbert left for him. Because you look at all the moves that Khan has made. Kenny Pickett was the final first-round pick of Colbert's career, traded. Deontay Johnson was a headache behind the scenes, traded. Mason Cole was a Kevin Colbert signing, gone. Mitch Trubisky was a Kevin Colbert signing, gone. He isn't afraid to rip off the Band-Aid to make the moves that are necessary. He's not going to dig his heels in and be like, oh, man, all right, well, we signed these guys. Might as well keep them. So I think that a lot can be said for the fact that Mike Tomlin, yes, he deserves some blame. Absolutely. But I think with hindsight now, especially over the past few days, we can say, okay, we can take a little bit of that blame off Mike Tomlin and criticize Kevin Colbert more. But I agree. He does have to produce. They need to win. They need to win meaningful games this year. And I think, maybe it's just me being a little bit positive, a little bit too optimistic, but I think that they can win a playoff game this year. Definitely. And we'll see. We will see. New offensive coordinator, new quarterback room, going to be new receivers. This is going to be a very different looking Steelers team this year. And that's exciting because the past 2 years have sucked. It's been not fun. It's been so not fun. But like I said, new offensive coordinator. We're going to have some new pieces on the offensive line. We're going to see new quarterback play. The defense is going to be better. This is such an exciting time. And the draft hasn't even happened yet. And they're already this much better. So I'm excited for what's in store for Pittsburgh. If anybody has any last second questions, whether it be about Justin Fields or just the Steelers in general or just the NFL in general, you can drop them before we get out of here. But if not, then I will get out of here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, or even if you're not, go to the youtube.com/jbaileyNFL. Give it a like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Only a few away from 500 subs, which is nice. Just in the past year or so, just really started paying attention to this. So it's a small accomplishment, but one that would mean a lot to me. So if you can subscribe, that would mean the world to me to get me to 500 and then eventually 1,000. We'll keep building little milestone goals like that. That's how life works. But yeah, man, the Steelers acquire quarterback Justin Fields for a 2025 sixth round pick that could become a fourth round pick depending on playing time. And now the current quarterback room is Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I wonder if Russell Wilson has tweeted anything yet, by the way. I bet he has, because we've been doing this for 40 minutes, and I bet he has tweeted something. Let's see if he has. He hasn't. Oh, I'm so surprised. He tweeted about Wisconsin basketball earlier, but he hasn't tweeted anything about Justin Fields. So we'll see. But if there's no other comments, questions, or anything like that, I will end it there. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, or even if you're not, youtube.com/jbaileyNFL, give this video a like, a subscribe, comment if you can. I know when I watch YouTube videos, I know it pisses me off when I hear that too, but it does help out the channel. So if you don't want to because I said that, I totally get it. It annoys me too. But if you do want to, it would make my heart happy as we're inching closer to 500 subs, and then hopefully in the next year or so we can get to 1,000. So I appreciate y'all watching. More stuff will be coming in the next week. News episode of the Pump Fake, which will come, what's today? Saturday, probably Monday. We'll record the latest episode of the Pump Fake, just talking about NFL free agency as a whole. Don't know who it'll be with yet. It'll either be probably JP, probably Mike Tanier, somebody, the usual suspects on this channel. But yeah, Pump Fake will be Monday. And then feature pieces that are going to be coming out in USA Today. I'll start teasing those a little bit. But there are 2 prospects that I'm going to be speaking to, as well as a very well-known NFL receiver that I'll be doing some work with this offseason. So a lot of stuff coming. And when it's all done, or when it's in the process of being done, I'll be sure to tease that on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at jbaileyNFL, by the way. It's right there. And subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Justin Fields traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 2025 sixth round pick. What a day. What a week it has been to be a Steelers fan. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.